Look me up on Google, search the classics, you crazy bastard. Hold me up and pull me down. It's a battle royale in the eye of the storm. Drowning in the shallows when the path is getting narrow. I'ma ride it out on this broken arrow. Fuck it. Hold me up.
Welcome to Unfiltered Idiots,
where we chat shit about real shit,
talk shit about those not giving a shit,
wondering and complaining why they ain't got shit. What's going on, ladies and gents? Episode number 3, technically 4, but we really lost the pilot, so we're just going to start getting the numbers right. We'll make sure you guys all know. Episode 3, if you haven't watched 1 and 2, go check it out. It's available on all the different social medias.
Yeah.
As we're going to do each week, we'll give a quick little introduction of ourselves. That way you know who the hell we are. The podcast, Unfiltered Idiots, obviously. Kenny, tell them about yourself.
Kenny.
What's
up?
All right, where are you from, Kenny?
What's up, guys? I'm Kenny from Aurora again. I came back from vacation, guys, so I want to talk about that a little bit, and we'll go into all of that. But yeah, it's me again.
All right. I'm Wes, aka Metro, also from Aurora. We've been good friends for like 10 years. Aurora, Colorado, for anybody watching us, potentially across the country or even internationally, who knows. I do have a lot of family. Hey man, I got a lot of family like all over this place.
I'm ready.
My cousin Megan's in Brussels. I have family in London. I got a homie John in Croatia. So some friends and family.
I need to know a little bit more about you. I didn't know all this.
Yeah, we've known each other like 10 years, but you know, but yeah, no. So first and foremost, man, there's obviously a lot going on. Kenny went on vacation to Mexico.
Yeah.
I went to Cabo for my wife's birthday, which is how I know Kenny. He's known my wife since probably got like 20 years, maybe longer than that.
Yeah, almost 20 years. That's kind of crazy. I'm getting old. She was a little baby. Little baby. Yeah.
And then I felt the same exact. In fact, it was literally I went to Cabo and he went to Riviera Maya area, I believe. I had the same experience, but I'll let you tell them kind of what your experience was, and I believe mine was exactly the same.
So. Well, it was weird, right? So immediately when we got off the plane, just the COVID protocols and everything involved in checking temperatures and just the level of sanitation it hit me like a freight train because I wasn't used to it. I didn't understand what was going on. Because I was in a third world country, right?
What we think is,
think is a third world country, right?
Yep. Yep.
And they were going.
We're Americans, maybe not you and I. But
yeah. They were going above and beyond.
Yeah.
And it was confusing, and I was like, it was sensory overload, and it was in the back of my head. I'm like, yeah, this is the right thing that should be done during this time, but it was crazy. Like, temperature checks everywhere, the little cameras. But it was
putting hand sanitizer
everywhere. It's
everywhere you went.
You can't see my hands, but my hands are blistered from
the hand everywhere sanitizer. You went, they checked. Even if they didn't have the digital scanner, they had a quick thermostat scanner. I mean, everywhere you went. Little local sports pubs. I mean, everywhere you went, you couldn't go into a place to buy a T-shirt, and they were like, "Oh, we gotta check you," and I was okay with it.
Right.
And I was like, "But like you said, I was going, what the hell? Why does this feel weird?" And it was like, they thought we were being ridiculous, and I agree with them.
It felt so weird, and again, like I said, it was like sensory overload because it was just like, bam, it hits you, and I'm thinking to myself because I remember texting my mom, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, Mexico's doing it better, and she got mad at me, dude. She's like, no, they're not. There's no way. And I thought, all right, she doesn't understand. She doesn't get it that other countries are doing things better. But anyways, I definitely wanted to talk about that because we are, leaps and bounds, back from where we need to be in that respect.
I know we have like hand sanitizer at places, and I get that, we have more people. I understand that, but Mexico City is one of the most densely populated, and they've had their problem. Nobody's saying that they haven't had any COVID or anything like that. It just, you can clearly tell that they all were on board. Everyone's wearing masks.
Everyone was
Nobody
doing
was screaming about
no one was a patriot
or not. It was like they just did what they needed to do because a lot of these other countries have dealt with some form. Not that we haven't. We had obviously. Ebola in 2011-ish time, I believe, right? And obviously, we could also argue and say, oh, that was the Republican side of trying to get out Obama, right? Because that was made up because that was done in the springtime of an election year. And then, was that made up? No, it wasn't. It's a pandemic,
Well, no, it wasn't.
right? Like Ebola,
Definitely
just like
wasn't,
coronavirus has been around a long time.
Yeah.
Nobody's making this crap up. Here we are. Let's check. I thought it was going to go away when Biden got elected. Well, that happened in November.
Yeah.
We have 400,000+ deaths already.
Well,
and every single month, and just like Trump, Biden has on January 20th, everything starts going on. And of course, does he have to take over a mess from Trump? Of course, just like Trump, even though his fans wanted to give him credit for the stock market, day one. It's like, dude, shut the fuck. You're out of your marbles, dude. It's the first 8-9 months
He took over
are
a
for
healthy
sure a
economy,
roll
man.
off of the last administration, including when Obama took over
well,
for
you
Bush.
can even say
no matter
say,
who
like,
it
the
is,
first year,
even like a year
and a half,
That's what I said, 8-9 months minimum.
Into a new administration, you're going to be taking over the previous president's either mess or
good, bad, everything in
whatever.
between.
Yeah,
it takes time. I get that, but
yeah,
everything
I definitely wanted to.
you need to be rolling out vaccines.
Yeah, I wanted to
that's all
talk
on Biden.
about that.
That's all on
because
Biden. Better start doing it.
It really pains me to see that the lack of preparation and the lack of just self-awareness that we're having in terms of this virus. You know what I mean? Just the sanitation here in America. It's sad. It's just like, what are we? I'm exhausted, guys. And when I tell you, I'm exhausted by it. It's just like, why are we fighting each other just to do the right thing these days? Can you tell me what's up?
And we've talked about that. It has a lot to do with the media, the powers at bay, which is we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
About how they control so much, including stocks, which is something we're about to talk about in a second with this whole thing going on. I'm one of the people. I put my stuff out there today,
Wes
so you can
is
see.
Fired up about that
I had some of my orders canceled. Some of my shares actually sold for me.
Yeah.
But again, we'll talk about that in a second. But that's where it drives from. It's all from that division, which is why we're doing this, because it's all about divide and conquer. This is an age-old method. And people aren't seeing it. Mm-hmm. And there's a point in time where I go, listen, I got it even 50 years ago. Yeah. And definitely hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, I got it. Dude, the ability to get information was like, dude, you had to send a horse rider to this village, to that. I mean, it took time.
Yeah.
50 years ago, okay, you start having newspapers, you had that longer than that, but I'm saying a little bit more television channel. So the information started to get there. But now, people not having this, not understanding what they're doing to you, I think there's two sides of it. Okay, I think there's part of it is just that you're being an idiot. Yeah. You're being blatantly putting your head in the sand and then crying later when you get your ass kicked.
Well, there's a lot of people, especially in our country, that just want to belong to something.
Yeah.
They want to belong to something.
Or not belong.
To something.
I hate Forrest Gump movie because everybody else likes Forrest Gump, right? There's always those people who are little thirst traps who want to oh my God, because everybody likes this, I'm going to hate it. And it's like, no, dude, you can say you don't have to love everything. I'm just saying there's certain things that people deliberately want to get attention by being that way, And it's thirst traps.
You bring in the information age, right? Yeah. Where we're at right now, and you're profiting off of that.
Yes.
So you're profiting off that, you're making a ton of money, even though it's morally wrong and unacceptable in all realms. You're looking at your bank account and you're like, okay, if I keep pushing this envelope even more, I'm becoming like this multi-millionaire overnight, right? Just by doing what we're doing, and just spreading disinformation. But there's so many people out there right now, Wes, that are just so, sick by this, and are not making rational decisions that were once normal people.
And we talked about the grifting that goes on, and like you said, the disinformation.
Yeah.
The grifting that goes on is disgusting. I mean, I've seen, like I said, we've talked about them, and I'll continue to blast on them because I can't stand some of these people. But Rave Dubin, everyone, Rave Dubin is Dave Rubin. We make fun of him that way. Dummy Lorong, Tommy Lauren. I mean, they will say Candace Owens,
right there.
People like Candace Owens they will say anything and everything. Like I said, it's wherever the money takes them. Yeah. They'll run for that money. And that's what's happened with the COVID stuff is that people saw money. Yeah. We got to realize everyone's like, well, why are we not rolling out like other countries with the vaccine? I understand we have 330 million people. I fully get that. But we also have that many more laboratories that should be able to produce them.
We're supposed to have
right?
the best of the best technology and just things and people, the smartest minds in the world.
I know Israel's vaccinated more than, I think they're at 65% of their population. Yeah. And again, somebody said, oh, well, there's only 7 million people there. But they only have laboratories and doctors and all that for 7 million people.
Right.
So they are doing it at the same percentage rate. There's like, oh, well, if this place is producing, and for simple math, 1 million vaccines, right? Okay, well, they might only have 1 of those or 2 of those in Israel. Again, just spitballing. But here we might have, 35 of them. Okay, well, then we should be producing 35 million to their 1, which means we should be vaccinating like 1/7. Okay. You know what I mean? Like 1/10 of our population every couple weeks, and we're not doing that. Well, that's what they've been doing.
It makes sense to you and I, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense to you and I. So my question to you, Wes, is how we can sit here and talk until we're blue in the face. How do we fix this? Because there's people dying at 4,000 or 5,000 people per day, right?
Yep.
So how do we fix this? Because I'm exhausted.
There's a side of me that
out with other people, and just it's exhausting.
There's a side of me that wonders if it can be fixed. Man, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but after what I saw today, guys, well,
let's go into it.
Yeah, we will. I mean, after what I saw today, I try to be in a very positive mood. I might write stuff that but I try to make fun of it, and it's anybody that knows it's around me, I'm usually trying to have a good time, goofing around. Absolutely, I can get into serious conversations, but after what I saw, not just today, but it's been happening for the last few days. So obviously, everybody probably heard about the Reddit stuff that was going on. In a nutshell, if you haven't, what's going on is that and I'm one of those people that went on Reddit, and I'm one of the people that have been using Robinhood for years. I've been doing pump and dumps for probably 2+ years.
So this all started on Reddit.
For the most part, yeah. It's been kind of...
So, tell me, because I don't understand the entire thing.
So. Yeah, there's an app called Stock Twist as well, too. And it's also a social platform about stocks. Yeah. And, you'll see it on there, too. You'll see people try to pump up certain stocks, and then there'll be a bunch of people that go on and go, oh, user ABC is a bot or some hedge fund, scumbag trying to make you not buy or buy that stock. Right. And you'll see about 30 or 40 of those comments and only 1 or 2 the other way. Okay. And then so
do you buy that way or the opposite?
Yeah, you buy the way that the vast majority of people are doing, because the 1 or 2 are a bot or some sort of control, right? So same with the Reddit. So they figured out that, hey, if we go, which I've literally done this, and again, I could care less what people think about it. Yeah. I've literally watched the stock be pumped up, and then it gets pumped up from 20 cents to 47 cents, and it starts to kind of dip back down, and guess what? You quickly sell. You made $100,
so
you made $200, whatever.
You can sell right on that app.
Yeah, so Robinhood is nice because you can buy and sell. It's live. It's like you're doing day trading. Okay. It's very easy to use. E-Trade and all that as well. You can do that as well. But I feel and I have an E-Trade app as well. Coinbase, same thing. I use for cryptocurrency. But Robinhood is great because I think it's just really kind of it's very easy to see everything. And it's quick. The transactions are done quickly. And so anyway, so what happened was basically they figured out that they could pump up AMC. The main one was GameStop, but it was AMC, BlackBerry. There's a few of them.
All of those companies had to leave.
Yeah. So they realized that all these hedge fund managers will put shorts on a stock. Okay. And what that is that you believe that you're betting that the stock's going to fail, right? Yep. So it's pretty simple there. So what they did was they had obviously billions of dollars tied up in GameStop specifically, all of them as well. But anyway, we'll stick with GameStop. And so they figured out, hey, we can go buy a bunch of shares, and they got enough people. I mean, there's
so how many people are you talking here? Did they just get together on Reddit and they're like, hey, we're gonna tackle this together?
That's kind of what that's what happened, and it literally went viral, so to speak, on Reddit. I was on there last night and I saw the post that was done. So there's a couple groups you can join on there, and anyway, one's like Wall Street bets, and then there's something else.
So they bought into the stock that was supposed to be dumped.
Yeah. And so they bought into it, and they made GameStop.
I don't understand that.
They made GameStop go from I believe it was $20 a share up to I believe it hit up to like 400
and this is the business that was in bankruptcy, right?
Potentially
in bankruptcy.
And so what hedge fund managers do, and we see this all the time. You can watch CNBC, Fox Business, obviously any kind of stock trading type shows, right? And Market Watch, all that, and they will go on these different shows, programs, radio, etc., with their huge platform, and sit there and talk about ABC company and how it just had some bad quarterly earnings, and that's all public information. You can see that too.
Yeah.
But when you go on there and go, oh my gosh, like basically they're not telling you sell, but they're literally saying, oh, the walls are closing in on this company. So what happens? You can see right after that the stock goes down 10, 15, 20%, whatever.
Right?
Or opposite, right? It can make it go up.
Right.
So the people on Reddit said, oh, we can do the same shit by just going and buying this stock up. And when more shares are being bought, obviously the stock's going to go up, right? When shares are being dropped, obviously it's going to go down.
Right.
Give or take. That's a simplistic way of looking at it. And and they drove the stock way up. They said that the hedge fund managers, they're all over these programs yesterday, crying and whining and bitching like a bunch of fucking babies that they are, because they do this shit all the time. They steal they rob Peter to pay Paul. They steal from all of us working class people who like put money in your company stock and that kind of shit, right? They literally know that we don't know what Comcast is doing. I worked for Comcast, as I use the example. You don't know what they're doing, but the top brass, the top executives of they absolutely know what they're doing.
Know exactly.
So if they're about to acquire a company or they're about to be acquired, you're never going to know that. And then the moment they make that public, after they've done all the trading that they need to do, they make it public, and you'll find that all out like within a matter of a minute.
Right.
Like it's like, oh, the CEO or the CTO, all these people dropped or bought stocks in this, and oh shit, we're about to get bought or we're about to buy some new company. And the moment that happens, there'll be a press release that says Comcast is buying ABC Telecommunications or whatever. And the moment that happens, the stocks are frozen for both those companies. Well, so now because you can't, so you the 99% of you had no idea,
right? Because you weren't in the know.
And then the next thing you know, all you lose your money, so you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that's the whole system.
So I'm with you on that. So I guess my only other question for you in regards to GameStop is that stock now just crappy stock?
It's still up there.
Like what do you do with it now? Because
so what they did today
is still a bad business, right? So what do you do with it?
So what they did today was these several different apps. I know like Robinhood, Stash, I think there's a couple others, but anyway, they restricted the sale. They restricted buying more stock. They started selling people's stock, including my own. That, which I know has to be illegal. They were selling our stock without our consent. And this is all over the news. Everybody's probably seen it by now. But talk about market manipulation. They're accusing us, the little guys who are on Reddit doing it. When you sons of bitches have like CNBC, Fox Business, you have all the biggest media in the world. And now you're pissed off that we use the same tactics.
You guys did the exact same thing in reverse.
Eat shit. And now they're going to lose $13 billion, and I guarantee you they're figuring out, and I guarantee you the CEOs of Robinhood and all these different they got probably phone called and they said, hey, we need you guys to do this so we can get the money back to these hedge fund people and let it drop.
Long story short is to be continued, right? So to be continued on just the legality of it, because of what they did with your stock, and basically
I just had minimal stuff, but some people probably lost hundreds of thousands of dollars today.
If you think about that across the board, right? There's a lot of people that got screwed.
That's how the whole system works. If they get 1,000 from me and 1,000 from you and 10,000 from this lady and 20,000 from this person, the next thing you know, you're like, oh shit, you got 100,000 people that you got an average of 10 grand from. Like, oh wow, you just made millions upon millions of dollars, and that's where the whole system, and that's why we're seeing. The other thing that we saw is that clearly they're not using real money. They're literally not using. This is all fake.
It's all fake money.
I'm not saying there's not money in there.
No. Well, I get what you're saying. So it's all.
They're saying they don't have the money to cover. That's literally what they're saying. We don't have the money to cover it. if I didn't have the fucking money to cover my stock, I wouldn't be able to buy them.
Well,
like, like there's this whole thing that called they take the money out of my bank account, and then if I lose money, I don't get to go, oh no,
well,
I tried to do a pump and dump and it didn't work, and I want my money back. That's not how it works, bro.
You guys exposed a real issue
Horrific
in that trading market.
We've all known
again,
about.
I mean, we could go on and on that subject, but I wanted to kind of go into the QAnon new beliefs.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like
Hot
with
mess.
Marjorie.
Marjorie. I always forget her name. Marjorie. We're looking it up.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
man.
Talk about
what
her.
What a scary one, guys. What a scary one. So I was watching MSNBC today, and CNN, and Fox News, and I guess she was following that David kid that was in that massacre that actually happened, by the way, and just following in Parkland, yeah. And she's basically saying that they're taking away her First or Second Amendment rights or whatever, and really what I want to touch on with her is I feel like she's dangerous. I feel like she's become an issue. And again, I don't ever want to censor anyone, but when you're kind of going down these QAnon conspiracy holes and you're bringing that into our government, that's a problem to me, right? And she's doing that, and what do you think about all of this intertwining of maybe good government and bad government coming together? What are they actually doing in Washington right now? Are they doing the people's work? What are we doing?
I mean, I think that I'm a big First Amendment, freedom of speech.
Oh, we know.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I believe in all that 100%. And whether it's people I disagree with or not, you know what I mean? Like, I'll come to that defense, and I try to stay very balls and stripes with it.
Yeah.
I will say if I don't like them, I'll say, I don't like this person and their views, but they have the right to freedom of speech. I think where her biggest issue is that she's going after somebody who just was in a horrific school shooting, which was by another right-wing, terrorist that was here, domestic terrorist.
Right.
And she's telling this kid, like, why are you trying to get away from gun laws and da-da-da-da, and it's just kind of like, man, like, I don't know. I look at that and kind of go, like,
is it for shock value, though?
Yeah.
Because we just talked about that. Is she doing that? Is she doing that to hold on to her job? Does she really give a shit about what she's talking about, or is it just to keep the base happy?
Yeah, I mean,
let's just call it what it is. That's what I'm saying. Just call it what it is. I'm trying to.
And
keep
I'm a
the
Second
base
Amendment.
happy.
I believe in all that. It just I'm not one of those like, oh, it's against tyranny against the government. Dude, the government has
so
drones,
exhausting.
bro. Like, stop. I like my gun. Like, I have a couple shotguns. We go shoot clays. They're fun to shoot.
Yeah.
Stop talking about like tyranny against the government. I'm not saying it doesn't. That there's no basis to that. But it's like, look, if me and 10,000 militia members wanted, like, legitimately, we're not talking about for like an hour that you broke into the Capitol. We're talking like you literally try to literally line up and fight the U.S. military. Dude, we have toppled people's armies in a weekend. Yeah. Iraq was like a weekend. It was like a little vacay for our military. They have a lot of the same shit we have. We just have a lot more of it. Imagine you got AKs and AR-15s. Wow. So, what are you going to do against a tank?
Again, so
it's like
right? Are we doing this for shock value
100%.
and to play into the base? Or does she really believe in that? I don't personally think that they believe in any of this, but that just shows you how sick that base is right now, and just mind effed.
Yeah.
They're so confused because, again, I know that there's great people out there, there's normal everyday people that have gotten sucked into this and then you had a pandemic to it, and then everyone's freaking batshit crazy.
Yeah, and that's screwing over a lot of working class people on both sides. And you have a lot of people who are trying to figure out how to navigate this information, that it is coming in like a fire hose, right? We've talked about this, where we're in a weird generation where we kind of had the internet growing up, but we kind of didn't, you know, was in its infancy when we were like in sophomores in high school and stuff like that. And you're younger than me, but like not by much, but like still. So you look at somebody even like yourself, you're kind of on the other end of the cusp. I'm on like the front end of that little 4 or 5 year window.
Yeah.
But you look at people that are 45 or people that are 25 or 30, even like my wife, right? They've always had that information at their palm of their hands, and that's great.
And it's always been instant too.
Yeah, and I think the internet's the greatest invention that mankind's probably ever done. You know, somebody could debate me on that, but like, it's great.
I think it's the greatest and the worst.
In a sense, but like the solution is turning on the lights. So I always tell people that, right? Just because you turn off the lights and there's a murderer in the corner, doesn't mean that there's still not a murderer in the corner.
Yeah.
So, or positive, just because you turn off the lights and there's a pile of gold in the corner, doesn't mean there's not still a pile of gold in the corner, right? You got to turn on the lights. And what I mean by that is trying to expose as much of this nonsense is what it is nonsense, and making sure we have truth tellers out there. And people can argue what's the truth. Well, get sources, dude. Like, go check like several sources. A source is not necessarily Fox News and CNN. A source is all of those sources. What do they agree on? And then go to like .gov, .edu, all those things.
Even with fact checking a source, it's just like, I'm sorry, like I'm in that headspace where I feel like everyone has an ulterior motive.
I agree with you.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Getting several sources and see what they all agree on.
But it's just like, okay, well, you can go down that rabbit hole with one side in all of those sources. Guys, I'm saying this and I'm saying it sincerely. I don't know. We're so far down this just craze. Like it's scary to me to think about like trying to get out of it. Like it does.
And I don't know. And like I said, I think we just got to keep exposing these truths. And again, I don't like the cancel culture any more than the next person necessarily. And anybody on the right and conservative, the right cancels their own people. I mean, they started the whole thing.
Yeah.
They started by like going after Pixar and all kinds of like. Let's stop. And so, like, is it happening both sides? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I cool with it on both sides? Not really. But at some point,
when it gets dangerous, you have to.
Yeah, you guys start going like, what are you like? If I'm on here going, we need to we're not talking about somebody who just jacked a bunch of working class people in the stock market today. I would tell you to probably go, and we're talking not overthrow the government. Go take the people down who need to be taken down. Whether that means again like democratically, right? Take them down in the fashion of people who are trying to cancel, and that's what's frustrating to kind of go back to it is that people are like, oh, let's cancel Robinhood. Oh, let's screw. And it was just like, well, dude, that's probably what they want. Yeah. Robinhood was the vehicle that we use to go after them. So the big hedge fund managers, the Charles Schwab, whomever it might be, that's what they want. They don't want you and I to make an app that somehow gets into their world. They want us to have to make a phone call and talk to some manager, some stockbroker, and have them handle all of our shit so they can get commissions off of it. When I could do it on my own, and
and then on the other side of things too, it's just so funny how everything that's been so mainstream is now being exposed by the people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Which I think is
turn the lights on.
I think that's also a good thing that the normal people, the regular everyday people like you
on both sides
are exposing everything.
Dianne Feinstein is just as much of a piece of shit for being on that same committee as Loeffner.
Well, and you can't sit here and tell me that Biden hasn't been involved in any of this 100%. Bullshit either. Yeah, they were all involved in this. Right?
People see me write about this, and I call them all scumbag. Like, sorry, I say 95% of both parties, politicians, are complete scumbags all the time. Anybody who follows me on social media, I'm sure they'd probably say, oh, Jesus, you always say, but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I think I'm being generous to call 95% because it's probably closer to like 97.
I think
99.
I'm about 99.99.
So there's a few of them that don't take money, and I don't care what side they're on.
Yeah, and I think that
I'll support them.
And we talked about this in the last episode. I think that they go to Washington wanting to do things and doing it the right way, but then something switches.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have a conversation with each other and like this is how it's gonna be if you're in this.
Well, no, we do know. I mean, AOC and Rashid Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and all those freshman Congress, and it was all the women. Actually, I know one of the guys was obviously Ilhan, but anyway. Sorry,
They exposed that.
They exposed that at their freshman. They said they had 4 like CEOs come in and talk to him. Not one labor leader, not one union leader, nothing like that. They had 4. One was, I believe, from Chase Bank, and they said it was like all these different industry top executives come in and basically tell them this is how the system works. Basically, toe the line, or you're gonna get like voted out, and they don't realize that shit is coming to an end. It's gonna take time. But it's coming to an end, and they see the walls closing in.
I hope so, man, because it's just. And I didn't follow politics until the last couple of years,
and a lot of people didn't.
Because you had to really get into it, like
I have been for like 20 years.
Yeah, when you get into politics,
it's consuming. Yeah, and there's times I've stepped away and just go, oh man, like because.
Well, it makes me mad, man. It makes me angry.
Well, I mean, there's positives to it, but it's frustrating to me that, like I said, don't put your head in the sand, and then when somebody comes by and kicks you in the ass because you're not paying attention because your head's in the sand, don't cry about it later. Get your head up, look around. It doesn't mean you need to be devoted to it 24 hours a day, but look around. It also doesn't mean you need to be like this Marjorie Taylor Greene and QAnon, where they start coming up with these crazy, even Alex Jones. Okay, Alex Jones. If you haven't heard that phone call with Q supposedly on Alex Jones' show, it's comical. Alex Jones is sitting there going in his traditional, like freaking out, like everything you guys say is bullshit. Dude, you're the reason why they're there, you dipshit. You started this whole thing of putting the things in to make the frogs gay.
So,
you started this crazy nonsense.
So,
and now you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
One thing that I was talking to, I think, a coworker today, and unfortunately, someone's gonna have to die before shit gets put back together. Like someone's gonna get hurt, and it's gonna be someone of high stature that gets hurt,
which almost just happened.
And then they're gonna be they're gonna be like, all right, stop. Yeah. Because obviously, a police officer
being beaten
to death, that wasn't enough, right? Yeah. So it's someone in that house, in that Capitol.
But we now know that it's been released that a few of these Congress people that were at the Capitol, right? Like Congress members, excuse me. Including AOC, I think that's still about to come out of how close they were to getting to her. And like I said, that all comes from these like, again, people being upset. I understand that. We need to try to figure out how to encompass everybody. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a moment because I have some good ideas about how that would at least like ease the fever of people being frustrated because most of it is financial. But real quick, while we're talking about the QAnon thing, real quick. Their most recent beliefs is that they believe Trump's going to be sworn as the 19th president on March 4th. That's their new thing. This is
remember how we kept talking about they're pushing the dates. The dates. Right? They keep pushing the dates.
Even Alex Jones accused them of that.
To keep it relevant.
The sane Alex Jones.
This is something that Wes, I think you sent me this when I was in Mexico. But now it's March. It's somewhere in February.
March 4th.
March 4th. That President Trump will be sworn in as the 19th president of the United States, and I'll let you talk.
This is all in Vice. And so basically, what the ladies were saying was that this country was sold, a long time ago, and that it's no longer the United States, and that basically that he's going to be. That's why he was the 19th president because the republic was sold so long, right? So they're now claiming that's what it's going to be. But anyway, it's one of those things.
Go look into that. It's on Vice.
It's on Vice.
Or you can look up President Google. Trump, 19th president.
QAnon beliefs. But it's one of those things that we, right, like, and including a lot of people on the right, by all means, the vast majority of them, even they are like, that's batshit crazy.
Stop it.
Right? Yeah. But we, again, cannot always like ignore, no matter if they're left or right or center or what, or look how we've ignored the so-called centrists who are not centrists, they're corporatists. these top 1%, we keep saying, oh, this is how the system is. Oh, this is how it is. And one of my favorite things that my Uncle Jerry, who I love and miss dearly, guy wouldn't harm a fly. He had epilepsy. He's an amazing, amazing human being. Would always tell me whenever I would say it ain't, or I'd always say it is what it is, he would say, well, it ain't what it should be. And it always and he would always repeat himself, and it really got into me because he had epilepsy. So, but it really made me
So what was
look
it
at
again?
things.
Say it again?
And so when you say it is what it is, he would say, well, it ain't what it should be.
Right.
And like I said, very peaceful guy. He saw the good in everybody. I don't care if you just like hit him in the face. He would think that like, oh, that there was something going on in your life and that he needed to talk to you. And there's a side of me that I don't get that far to some people. Some people I just think want to just be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And my Uncle Jerry was not one of them.
That's awesome.
Great guy, and I miss him.
We
And
need more people like that.
yeah, but he was a little bit not informed because of, the epilepsy and not being kind of like, he never had kids, never had a wife, anything like that. But, I always looked at that and go, man, that is so telling, because what we're about to, talk about next is how we say it is what it is. For example, the minimum wage debate. Like, you are letting them, right? When I say you guys, we're talking about the working class, 97, 98% of us, right? We're letting the 1-2% tell us, again, with their big media platform, right, tell you, oh, hey, oh, you don't want to do that. That's going to raise everything. Of course they're telling you that.
Yeah.
Anything they're telling you, we should be doing the opposite.
Right.
Do you think some billionaire, like, I don't give a rat's ass what school he went to, and then, oh, I'm an economist from Harvard. I don't give a shit. Your mommy and daddy likely almost guaranteed paid your way. Yeah. You've never had to work for it. Why would he tell you? I said this on the last podcast. I'll say it all the time. Why would a billionaire try to give you advice, the working class, people making even 100, 200 grand a year, or even a little bit more than that? You're still part of that working class, right? Why would they give you advice that's going to, in a sense, make them have to pay you better and transfer that distribution of wealth? They're not going to do that. So they're going to tell you, no, boogeyman, boogeyman, boogeyman. Be scared of it.
Keep you away from it.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about like the minimum wage stuff? Like,
I mean, with the minimum wage thing, I still need to do a little bit more research on it, because I obviously don't want the smaller businesses to go out of business. And again, you had questions on your Facebook about, whether or not the ages are appropriate. You had a great response to that. I really don't have a lot to say about it right now, just because I want to make sure that, because I have family members that have had small businesses, and I obviously want this to become a small business one day, or a big business one day, but I just want to make sure that, I look at everything and ensure that, that is adequate for that business, if that makes sense.
No, and that's exactly where I'm going with it. I mean, I'm a independent trainer. I'm on my own, so small business. And that's my whole goal. That's all I've ever worked with. Even though I work for big companies, I worked with small, medium businesses. Mainly just small businesses. And I just always saw a lot of my clients run their own small business. Most of them pay their people drastically better than like Amazon, Walmart. I mean, right? Yet they make, it's like, oh, they made, let's say one of them made 500 grand last year, right? Their lowest employee is still making $20 an hour. You're going, well, Jeff Bezos made $86 billion, and his lowest employee is probably the federal minimum wage, because his average was $28,000. So you look at that, and so my solutions, and this is where like a good friend Brad Cleveland, shout out to you, Brad, and his lady Leslie and your kiddos, love you guys to death. We gotta think past some of our first initial things. And him and I had the chit chat on it on Facebook. I won't go into all that.
I liked looking at the conversation.
It was really. But one of his questions was, and I'll talk about it. But so what I want to do is have a livable wage, and what I mean by that, and I've written this for years and years and years, is it would be liquid. So if inflation goes up 2%, your wages go up 2%. If inflation goes down 2%, your wages, it is liquid. It is moving. Okay. It is a moving scale. And I'd have it based upon, like, for example, and again, I'm just spitballing numbers, but like 40% of what a new home costs in your specific market that you work in, right? So if you work in, again, I always love the Biloxi, Mississippi, but I know like Biloxi, Mississippi is, from my research, $100,000 will probably buy a house damn near as nice as mine.
Yeah.
And mine's, like this house I'm in is probably right around 675, maybe 700,000 right now. So, and again, I'm not saying these numbers are exact, but you can make 30,000 in Biloxi, Mississippi, and that could be like the equivalent of me making 150
No,
in Colorado.
I totally understand where you're coming from. However, how much kickback would you get from a more conservative mind? Because I'm tending to have a more conservative mind on this. So what, like, how do you get a more conservative mind on board with that? Like,
yeah, and because
how do you sell that?
Well, because I would, and one of the things this is what we talked about on Facebook, and this is something I've written also for years, so it's not just something I just came up with.
Yeah.
I have the receipts, so to speak. Speaking of that, a little funny note, I'm going to start carrying around receipts in my pocket. That's my new thing. So if somebody says you have receipts, like just random like Kroger receipts, but...
and anyone that knows Wes,
I will literally do that shit. I'm like, oh, check it out. I got a receipt from like Kroger, dude. What's up? And so, so I have the receipts to prove that this is not something I've just came up with, but I've talked about having an age-based livable wage, and again by market too. And I also talked in there, which is what I explained to a lot of people, is that I wouldn't have the small businesses adhere to that.
Yeah.
So I would have it also based upon your employee count. And the moment, and here's the kickback I get from that, which I've heard this a dozen times. Oh, well then they're just going to automate jobs. Totally agree with you. They're automating jobs any damn way.
That's where I was going to go with it.
And guess what you do? So you do what every other country's done. They have a value-added tax. It's called a VAT tax, right? We are the only, as far as I've done my research, the only industrialized country on this planet that I've found that does not have a VAT tax. And what you do is, and especially for something like Amazon, for every transaction that they do, you're going to have a tax on it. So they can't dodge taxes. And that's something we've talked about a bunch, because that's what they do. They'll just dodge taxes. They'll automate things.
Yeah.
But here's my argument to that. Again, like I said, I would not.
Oh, so they would still have the bad tax.
Yep.
Because they.
Tax for every AI that you have too.
Okay.
So for every AI,
like
every
that.
self-checkout you have at Kroger, you're going to get taxed a higher rate for every AI
So what
that you
happens
have.
since we've priced them out of the market, what happens to the people then?
So again, that's where a lot of people are going to start going, oh, how can we pay people like a universal basic income? Well, that's how, because we got to look at this thing from a beautiful angle, right? So when I tell people, you can look at a forest fire from destruction, or you can look at it from a forest fire that says, hey, it brings new life.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it from the beautiful angle and say, hey, if the robots and AI are doing our jobs for us, then we have to tax these companies using the robots and AI to turn right around and pay universal basic income, because let's be realistic. The robots and AI are going to be doing the jobs for people. We've already know statistically four big schools. I know MIT, Stanford, I can't remember the other two. They did a huge study about 2 years ago that the top 5 employment jobs are going to lose 65% of their workers over the next 10 years.
So, okay.
And so we have to have some sort of system in UBI.
That's my question.
Where Andrew Yang came in. Yeah. Andrew Yang was dead ass about how that worked. Andrew Yang had that spot on. We're gonna have to pay people.
Where do the people go? That's where I'm saying is like, where do they go? Where,
listen, like
what do they do for work once we're priced out of the market?
And that's why we talk about providing our people with education and trade schools. I talk about all this all the time about trade schools, public colleges being tuition free. Again, we have the money to do it. We keep saying we don't have the money. We increased our military budget this year by $220 billion. Increased $220 billion. It would have been $52 billion to pay every single person's tuition in school this year. Every one of them.
Right.
Every public school. I believe it was $62 billion would have covered even private schools.
Right.
Which nobody's advocating for a kid to go to Harvard for free. But like CSU should not be $40,000. And these state schools used to be free. Long time, like this, back in the day, they used to be free. And like I said, look at when all this stuff changed. We talked about this last week.
Is key.
1964, 1965.
I'll definitely go. Education is key to, a more prosperous life. But how we get there is just it's a big debate.
It's a huge one, but like we got to have people on board and working together. The working class people, like when Brad asked me, would you have more of livable wage for people that had more children? And my answer was no, because I would rather that we educate our people on what the cost is to have children.
Yeah.
This is where my conservative mind comes in. I've even talked to doctors about my own doctor, not for me, but like just randomly chatting with him.
Sure.
I've gone to him since I was 17, Dr. Korn, great doctor in Aurora. And I've even talked to him about, hey, could we, and he said, this is, again, hopefully not to put him out there, but he said there's literally a surgery that is very, very invasive that could be done at birth by both male and female, that they can turn right around and basically reverse. It's like a form of like tying tubes, a vasectomy, but he said it's something that can be done at birth, to where we can then say, hey, you need to get a license to have a child. Again, people, we go, oh my God, that's against God. But that's the conservative side of me that starts going, hey, my Uncle Jerry, also, again, same uncle, right?
Yeah.
Love, Mr. would never harm. He said one of his other things he used to say all the time, we have to have a license for everything in this world besides having children. And he was not like necessarily saying we needed to do that. He just was explaining that we don't have any kind of programs to like have people understanding what it costs to have a child,
or what it takes to raise
to have a child.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch that goes into.
So no, I would kind of say, hey, like
there's a whole bunch.
Yeah, I would say, hey, you need to we need to educate our people so that they understand that this is the kind of stuff that should be being taught in school. They should be literally having courses where they go down and try to, teach them how to, like, what it's going to cost to look at having work on bank accounts, pretend to buy diapers, all that stuff.
It definitely needs, and it needs to be taught
everywhere.
In middle school, high school, college.
Yeah.
How to balance a checkbook, what credit is, and what the game of credit. The credit is a game. It's all a game.
And people's credit
unfortunately,
is not true
people my age, we learn the credit game later in life. Yeah. Like in utilizing your credit cards could harm it. Not utilizing your credit enough could harm it. But anyways, that's a rabbit hole for another day.
Yeah.
We are at already 40-something minutes.
But we'll continue to talk about this stuff, guys, because it is a huge, huge, huge issue. Yeah. And I want the distribution of wealth to happen in this country to the working class people, to the small business owners, to the
what we'll do is we'll pick that conversation up episode 4 right off the bat, because I need to do more research again, and I need to talk to you a little bit more about it to make it make more sense to me.
We just had that Reddit thing come up today, and we were going to talk about this more. I was pretty, I'm not going to lie, I'm fucking floored, to be honest with you. I'm at the point, my wife looked at other properties literally in Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary today, and we're not talking anytime soon, tomorrow, but the way things are going, I describe it as this, it's like a bad relationship. We're just, I feel like we keep trying to stick around this country, a place that I love and want to amplify, but we have this just pulling us apart, and I just think it's going to collapse.
We love our country with everything in us, right? But
I hate that.
We're fighting each other, and we're pulling at each other every which way, and just every angle, and it's exhausting.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have a lot of conversations about it. This is not going to be the last by any means, and I do a lot of research, and I'll continue to listen to anybody's comments.
Yeah, and that's why when you go down the socials, can you please give us your suggestions, and I've got a lot of them last episode as well, but please DM us. You can email me at knewell at unfilteredidiots.com or metro@unfilteredidiots.com if you'd rather email. But if you want to go run down our socials for us.
And I'll let you do that, because I'm going to give one last, one thing that's kind of on a funny note. Yeah. One of my favorite calls, because we were talking about just the people and calling in, but there was a guy that called into Rush Limbaugh crying. This was kind of right after the election, but before the inauguration. And he was crying about, he was literally going you're all we got, you and Trump, Rush. And it was just kind of oh my God. I mean, there was a side of me, because he went to the mega march or whatever that's supposed to happen. And he said him and his son never seen so many people and this and that. But he was literally crying on Rush Limbaugh's show. And I just kind of sat there going like, there's a side of me that laughed about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. Like, and
This
then
is
there's a
real
side of me
life.
that's going like, dude, do you really think that like you're down to Rush Limbaugh and Trump? Like, I'm like legitimately
Don't make it make
laughing
sense,
but
man.
scared.
Yeah.
Like laughing because it's like, what the is wrong with you?
And I
But
can't
scared.
convey it enough. And
Like,
you even
are
saying
you,
that is just, we're down to Rush Limbaugh and Trump.
Yeah.
Like, again, I can't convey it any other way of just being exhausted.
Because that's not the case, guys. Everybody's got, there's millions of people out there that are, I mean, dude, I would argue hundreds of millions that are much better characters than Trump, Biden, Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Rush Limbaugh. Like, I mean, you name it, there's probably
of them.
tens of millions that
Yeah.
are better than all those people. And I don't care about their education level. I'm just talking about people that would do the right thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, send us in your information. Kenny, tell them where to find us on the socials.
So, again, well, I'll start with the emails. You can reach me at knewell@unfilteredidiots.com, metro@unfilteredidiots.com, Twitter. We need to start blowing that up a little more, guys. So reach out to us on that at UFI idiots.
Yes.
Yeah, UFI idiots.
Or just you have idiots.
You have idiots. Yeah, I always get that.
We're
wrong.
idiots.
Or unfiltered_idiots IG
For Instagram.
on Instagram.
Yep.
And
then all the podcasts.
Unfiltered Idiots on Facebook. I'm gonna have all this stuff popping up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Anchor,
Anchor.
Spotify, everything that we're wherever you can find. Apple, all over the place. YouTube. So yeah, man, come tune into us. Check us out on next week's show. And it'll be that'll be episode 4, and we'll stop confusing you guys since I screwed up the first one. I'll take the heat on that. But yeah, man, love you guys. We will catch you next week.
Much love, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Peace. You can say grab him by the pussy, you get like the president. You can
Say it
all
again,
kinds of
Wes.
stuff. Yeah,
We're-
don't worry. I'm recording on my phone too, so this will all be on the fucking intakes and outtakes. And my
Oh, hi.
balls and my nutsacks.
I didn't see you there.
Hi guys. Hi there, guys. Oh yeah. La did do.
Okay.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Welcome to Unfiltered Idiots,
where we chat shit
You
about
messed
real
up.
shit, talk shit about those not giving
You
a
messed
shit,
up.
wondering, complaining.
It's okay, we got it. That's a good time. Delete. We should both like this and like picking our nose. Welcome to Unfiltered. Oh shit, we're on camera? Just kidding. Alright, good stuff.
Your phone stopped.
When did it doesn't really matter. When did it oh, you know why? It's because I downloaded my music back again. When did it stop? It just stopped. It just stopped though, huh? Because it was recording.
This motherfucker. We're gonna have that in the bloopers.
It doesn't matter. My phone doesn't matter. I wonder if it like ran out of oh I bet you it did again.
Look me up on Google, search the classics, you crazy bastard. Hold me up and pull me down. It's a battle royale in the eye of the storm. Drowning in the shallows when the path is getting narrow. I'ma ride it out on this broken arrow.